What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a good Monday. Just wanted to put out a quick Bitcoin and Stellar market update where I see things kind of going in the near term. My colleague Brian on the channel, he put out a really awesome video. Check that out on the Bitcoin market where he kind of sees the trend developing and where the major supports of resistance are from his angle. So I'm going to give more of kind of a short term, near term approach where I see things, is I'm kind of trading things more on a near term kind of basis and flipping coins for profit and trying to reduce my holding costs. So let's get right to the charts and go from there. So let me bring that up real quick. Okay. So right now I have the Bitcoin against USD currently on my chart. This is the 2-hour chart. So just so you guys know, I do a lot of my trading, speculative trading, more on the near term kind of perspective on the 2-hour. It's my preference because I am an active trader. So for me, I like to see what's happening in the local kind of time zone, right? When I'm assessing supports and resistances. Now, just so you know, I do form kind of a major when I'm doing more of a macro look, or where I'm trying to put together my technical framework. I do look at the daily and weekly and even like monthly charts sometimes. So this is the daily chart to kind of form where I see the trend going in the long term. But I rarely trade based on what's happening on the daily because it's not as active enough for me. So I'm mostly looking at the 2-hour to do my kind of day-to-day trades. So as I said also in our last video last Thursday, so what I typically do, if you consider my cryptocurrency bag, I normally take 30% of the holdings and I will day trade or more actively speculate on 30% of my holdings, again, with the goal of reducing my average cost basis in the account. So again, okay, so this is the 2-hour. And if you guys have been following us for the last few months, you know exactly where Brian and I have been, getting into Bitcoin. And we've had more or less kind of a buy and hold strategy, to be honest, this last few months. We haven't had too many indications to sell. So we were trading in this kind of dumb zone for the longest time between $3,600 and $3,900, in this beige zone, and we finally broke out. And I just want to stress here that things are looking great, but this isn't the time to get FOMO and just start, buying, allocating positions without having, an understanding of where the resistances are and where the supports are, and that's how you win in this market. And, it's cryptos are volatile enough where if you're not careful and you don't get solid entry prices, the market can reverse very quickly on you, as we've seen in 2018. And you could be holding on to really expensive positions, right? So for those of you that missed this pump here, this when we broke out from essentially $4,100, you've only had a few opportunities to get in the market if you missed buying in this kind of dumb zone area. And those zones were between essentially 4,600. So if you look at this cluster here, let me zoom in for those of you that are watching on your cell phones. So if you missed buying prior to this pump, right, your entry points to get into this move would have been somewhere between 4,660 to 4,800 would have been your first kind of cluster that you could have traded and got some exposure. The next cluster would have been again around $4,800 to $4,950 approximately. And if you missed these entry points here, you're taking a lot of risk buying in this zone. And the reason I say that is because although the overall trend, looks bullish, we have this nice, beautiful ascending triangle that's forming right now where we're making, um, higher lows. And, this does have a pattern target to break out around $5,800, but it's not guaranteed. We're finding lots of resistance here, right around 5,300 bucks, as you can see on this horizontal line here. And so, the whole goal in trading, not just cryptos, is you want to buy supports and then you want to sell at resistances. Okay, especially if you're kind of a near term, strategy minded like myself. And so if you're buying, if you're accumulating right around this 5280 to 5,300 bucks, you're definitely buying at resistance zones. And, although this pattern looks great, there's nothing to say that we don't reverse 10%, 20% overnight. And that's just how cryptos trade. And you have to take into account that risk, right? So, again, if you missed buying in this cluster here between 4,660 to 4,800 bucks and this zone here, really your only bet right now, if you want to play this safe, is to either buy when Bitcoin makes a little retrace, maybe along this, um, this support line here. So maybe you could find something around that kind of 5,150 range, 5,150 for, a very speculative trade. Very small allocation size in your portfolio, and you'd have to have a tight stop loss on a trade like that. And um, or you wait for a breakout, which would be easier, right? So you can see here, Bitcoin has hit 5,350 a couple of times, right? And you could wait for a breakout above 5,350, so call it 5,400, using Coinbase's prices. So on a breakout above 5,400, you could put in, a smaller allocation and aim for that, kind of $5,700 to $5,800 kind of initial price target. That's what I would do personally. That would be a lower risk trade, is waiting for a breakout above 5,400 versus, trying to time a buy down here. Although this has held support, one, two times, and it should hold as support again for a third time, but you never know. And it's a lot of risk, right? So that would be my advice. So let's say if you do get in a breakout trade above 5,400 bucks, what then, right? So again, this ascending triangle has a pattern target to around 5,800 bucks, which I'm going to flip over the daily time frame real quick. And we're going to talk stochastic, what we're seeing on the momentum indicators as well. So like the stochastic and RSI. So this 5,800, 57 to 5,800 zone is really interesting as far as, where we might see resistance again. So you can see, back in November 18th, when we, capitulated and broke through 6,000, we had this kind of this pricing cluster here, which should act as resistance, right? So again, around 5,500, call it, to 5,700 could be resistance when Bitcoin breaks through 5,400. So keep that in mind. I personally think that if we break up above 5,400, there's still enough momentum in this market and FOMO that will probably incur if there is another breakout for Bitcoin that will push us beyond that 55 to 5,700 bucks. I really would think 5,800 to 6,000 would be a realistic, target if we break through 5,400. And that is just, that's my opinion. The market doesn't have to do that, but I can see FOMO trading happening again on a breakout of this ascending triangle, essentially. So now, what do the RSIs and stochastic tell us, right? So if we go back to the 2 hour time frame, again, I'm trading based on the 2 hour. What I want to see is, so remember, stochastic is sensitive to momentum, not prices. So you can have a situation where stochastic is trending downward, but prices are remaining stable, and that's just how the indicator and math works out. So stochastic is measuring momentum and it's more sensitive to the momentum of the market, whereas RSI down here, this is more sensitive to the price action, right, over a given time frame. So it's really nice as a trader to overlay these two um, indicators on top of each other, because they give you a kind of a good perspective of when to get in and when to get out of a trade. And one of the questions I received was, how do I know when to buy and when to sell? Because you receive false flags all the time from indicators. It doesn't matter which indicator you're looking at. Um, you can, stochastic and RSI is time tested. They've been around for decades, and yet they still give you a bunch of false signals, especially if you're looking at a shorter time frame like the 2 hour, right? So how do you know when to get in and to get out? And that's where you have to, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this video because I want to keep it somewhat focused and short, but this is where you have to spend time on setting up your technical framework and understanding how to use Fibonacci, right? So your Fibonacci tool is a great way to gauge where future supports and resistances are, right, for any given asset class. And the more you become friends with Mr. and Mrs. Fibonacci, the better your life is going to be. And this is where you're going to be able to, overlay. Okay, this is where you're going to be able to combine multiple indicators and get multiple confirmations before you get into a trade. Another, I guess, indicator that I always use as well is the Bollinger Bands. So let me clear out my drawings here so you can see it a bit better. And I definitely will combine Bollinger Bands with Fibonacci, with stochastic and RSI. This is my main trading screen, right? So, I know based on Bollinger Bands, I can see very clearly that resistance is, right around 5,325. So that's where your resistance is. Support should be on this center line here. We've been holding this center line for, quite a while, and especially on the 2 hour here. And each time Bitcoin did break through the center line, it touched, the lower bound here, which is -2 standard deviations from the center line, which has been good buying opportunities based on this 2 hour chart. So we should see support around $5,200 approximately, and then buy-in entries could be right around 5,086 based on where this current lower bound level is at. So again, 5,080 approximately for possible buy-in entry. So watch that closely. And then you want to see, ideally, you want to see Bitcoin hold $5,200, right? And you want to see bullish reactivation here starting to happen, and us driving the prices back up, because there's plenty of room on the stochastic, right? We bounced off the neutral level on stochastic on the 2 hour, which is good to see. You see RSI kind of rolling back down, but as long as we hold the 50 line like we have been, this is still bullish RSI levels. So so when I put this kind of just all together, this is why I'm saying you should wait for a breakout. If you currently don't hold Bitcoin and you missed out on all these different buying opportunities, really your only chance is for us to break out of this upper bound of this Bollinger Band, which is sitting at 5,320. Ideally, you wait for a breakout above 5,400 before placing any buys, with a target level of 5,700 to 5,800. I think you really want to watch what happens here, and when you do place a breakout trade, that's where you have to be um, really sensitive where you put your stop losses, right? Because a breakout trade can easily kind of reverse down on you. And so, when you're doing a trade like that, you ideally want to bring your stop evens as quickly to break even as possible. That way you're trading for free in the market. Okay. So that's what I'm seeing on Bitcoin in a way. And yeah, so far the pattern's looking great. Ascending triangle, like I said, I gave you the supports and resistances and kind of what indicators I'm looking at to form my technical framework. So I thought we'd look at Stellar real quick because I've been actively trading this, and my goal again with Stellar is I got in at just a little over 10 cents and kind of right around this level here. And what I've been doing is with, again, 30% of my bag, I've just been buying and selling all the dips and, buying at supports and selling at resistances. That's kind of been my goal with Stellar, just to bring down my average cost as much as possible. Because I wasn't happy with, my initial kind of average price for Stellar. But now I'm, under 10 cents for my bag. That makes me a little bit more comfortable in terms of if Bitcoin were to, reverse on us, and you never know, it could. Um, I should, be okay on Stellar, and I have my stops staggered in such a way that no matter what, I'll still walk away with a profit, even if we were to reverse down overnight like 30-40%. So what I'm looking for Stellar now is, I have these colored zones on my Fibonacci levels as well. And that's something that you guys should kind of adopt as well as you're figuring out, how to use this tool, how to use Fibonacci and what it means. Do your Google searching and educate yourself. And from there, as you get more experience, you're going to be able to kind of identify where the resistance levels are for your Fibonacci levels and where supports are and where potential, buying entries are. And that's exactly how I have my Fibonacci's colored right now. So I know between, 0.128 to 0.137 for Stellar, this is major resistance right now. And supports should be, just a little over 12 cents to 0.128. And then possible buy-in entries for me is this green zone here, which is, anywhere from 0.106 no, actually, let's call it 0.113 to 0.122. This could be a buy-in area for me for Stellar, but again, like I said about Bitcoin, I don't have blind orders out there just sitting on the order book hoping to get a price, right? I always let my indicators, give me the signal, and I need multiple confirmations. So if I have technically, if we look at my chart here, so I have 1, 2, and then like you guys know, I use Bollinger Bands as well. So these are 3 indicators. I want 2 out of 3 confirmations before, going into a buy on a trade. Okay. So with Stellar, you can see on the 2-hour, it's a little bit more bearish, right? Stellar broke below its midpoint line here, which is sitting at 0.1312. And it's currently trading just under 13 cents. So for me to put in a speculative buy entry, I might wait and see if, Stellar might get down to this lower bound and see how it reacts down here, right around 0.126. That could be a possible buy-in entry for me. It looks like the market's kind of trading sideways a little bit. You can see Stellar making higher lows, right? Yeah, a low here, higher low here, and a higher low here. But there's nothing to say that the market just can't go, like that, right? On us in a split second. It's done that multiple times. So that's why I don't have blind orders just sitting out there. So for me, I'm already have a decent bag in Stellar exposure in Stellar, so I'm not really interested in getting more exposure in Stellar until I see it kind of drifting down in my green zone. And the reason I have that as well, it's probably hard to see on your screen. Let me make these trend lines a little bit darker. This is the channel that I have here in Stellar. And that's the center line of the channel. So um, again, we could retrace, right? We could fall all the way back down here. So call it like 11 cents. There's nothing to say that couldn't happen. And this might be a great kind of buy-in level. And so what you would want to see if the market were to kind of capitulate down like that is you want to see how it reacts on the center line, which is sitting right around 12 cents. And if we were to break below that, um, the next kind of buy-in entry, in my opinion, would be to see how Stellar reacts around the bottom part of this channel. And so right around 11 cents, call it. That could be another good buy-in entry, but you have to wait. So let's see what the indicators tell us as well. So on the 2-hour, you can see it bounced right off of near the oversold territory, which is nice. Stellar did break below its 50 line. So again, you can see that Stellar is weaker than Bitcoin, and it's been struggling a bit more to hold these kind of neutral support zones on the stochastic and RSI. So this is where you have to be careful with these alts. I mean, they're a lot more volatile, and you can see right now, if you're buying up here, you're buying in a resistance area of the chart, clearly, right? If you're buying right now, you're buying near this, upper end of this ascending channel. And the best way to trade cryptos in general is in extreme market situations, right? So if you're looking to short the market, you want to see that extreme parabolic pump, right? To give you the best opportunity and chance to profit from a trade like that. And again, on the flip side, if you want to go long in the market, the safest time to go long is again, when there's major oversold situations. And so how do you know that, right? Because on the 2-hour, your indicators are just flashing a bunch of false signals. So one of the best ways to find a extreme situation, like an oversold situation, is looking at your daily chart and waiting for your stochastic and RSI to give you the buy and sell signals, on a longer time frame, and that will give you um, you know a better opportunity to play the safest if you are looking for more safe trades and you're not willing to take as much risk. Is maybe focus more on the daily time frame and wait for those extreme overbought oversold conditions, uh, and wait for your stochastic and RSI to flash the buy or sell depending on which side of the market you're trading. So anyway, that's kind of my Stellar report there. So just to go back and give you guys the initial, the near term kind of support and resistances. So right now, I want to see Stellar hold the bottom part of this Bollinger Band, so 0.126. It broke through the center line, which is not great, at 0.13. And if the market were to reactivate bullish, we're seeing major resistances at 0.135. So if you're looking to go long again, wait for these lower bounds to be tested again. And otherwise, you're going to have to otherwise wait for a major breakout on Bitcoin. And actually, I wanted to flip back over to Bitcoin real quick and talk about moving averages. So another thing to keep in mind is, because I'm going to head over to my macro report. where are the drawings? Here we go. Great. So this is my Bitcoin kind of macro report. All of you guys should do one for yourself and go through that kind of just that work just to kind of put that together. That way you have idea for yourself where what past trends have done, and you can use that to kind of extrapolate what might happen in the future. And so you can see here, this is the 200 EMA 200 week and the simple moving average 200 week, the blue and the pink lines here. And on this candle here, on January 12th, 2015, this is where we capitulated down to 163 bucks, and the market quickly found support on top of the EMA 200 week, right? Now, what people are kind of forgetting is in this current market that we're seeing right now, everyone's getting pretty euphoric and, lots of tweets and lots of social media out there from a lot of the influencers are saying this is the new bull market and blah, blah, blah. And, when you look back at 2015, yes, the market found support on the EMA 200 week. It rose approximately 83% from 163 to 306 bucks, right? There was a nice 83% move. But then the next phase, there was a 30% drop, right? And then the market moved 46% up on the next phase, and then it dropped again 37%. So there were kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of major phases that I found in 2015 before Bitcoin, before the bulls really regained just market control, and it was just to the moon basically from there, right? And so this was a good 8 months of just major drops, double-digit drops, up and down, up and down. And there's nothing to say that can't happen, obviously in this current market that we're in, right? And so, again, the market dropped, the market has risen approximately 70%. So similar to that 80% pump that we had in 2015 for that first phase. So there's nothing to say that we can't drop another 23% on the next phase of Bitcoin, which would test the EMA 200 again as support, which is sitting the 200 week EMA 200 week at $4,121. And so I just want everyone to just kind of keep that in mind that yes, everything is looking rosy and there's really no reason to be ultra bearish right now that, we're going down to $1,000 like you're seeing from some people. But at the same time, remember what happened in 2015 and expect, multiple phases happening before the bulls regain actual control over this market. And so that's what I'm kind of playing for is eventually, even if Bitcoin gets up to that kind of $5,800 to $6,000 level, I'm expecting it to turn back down at some point and retest the 200 week as support. And that's really important. And so, right now it's at 4,100 bucks. And so seems impossible, but, never doubt it, right? This is cryptos. So anyway, I wanted to give you guys that just kind of that macro look as well. Even though I am trading kind of 2 hour, I keep the overall macros, I keep the overall macro picture just in the back of my head, even though I'm trading short term, because I'm not, buying and selling my entire bag, right? Like I said, I'm usually using 30% to speculate on, and then I have approximately 70% that I'm just keeping as more of a kind of a long-term holding. So anyway, that's my report for the day. Again, make sure you guys check out Brian's Bitcoin market update. He gave an awesome review on just the macro picture where he's seeing supports and resistances. And so check that video out. And thanks again for watching. And I'll probably put out another report. I'm trying to do something, do one of these once every 3 to 4 days and go from there. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.